So you want to learn about tax sale delinquency. Well, you, my friend, have come to the right place because I'm going to teach you about tax sale delinquency, the opportunities in that business, and I'm going to show you not only the opportunity you're coming to ask about, but also a hidden opportunity in tax sales that I almost guarantee you've never heard of and is absolutely amazing. So I'll get to that at the end. So let's talk about tax sale delinquency. What does it mean to the homeowner and what does it mean to you as an entrepreneur? Tax sale delinquency happens and the sales happen when someone doesn't pay their property taxes for 3 to 4 years. At that point, the county is going to sell your property at a tax sale auction, meaning a tax deed auction, because they need to get that tax money. They want to pay the police, the firemen, the mayor, fill the potholes, collect the trash, do all the things that the county governments do, and they're dead serious about collecting that money. So when someone doesn't pay for 3 to 4 years, that property gets sold at a tax deed auction and a new owner gets the property. So whoever it is that raises their hand and has that final high bid, they become the new owner of the property. And oftentimes these are estates. It's where someone has passed away and their relatives either aren't interested or are not around. So the property gets sold because no one pays the taxes. So oftentimes they're vacant properties. And so just understand that's a large part of it. Other times, just people who've fallen on bad economic times and they sit there for too long and don't sell their house quickly enough and end up having it sold out from under them. So these sales are held every year in pretty much every county in the United States. There's some states that have different systems like Illinois and Colorado where they sell tax liens, but we're going to put those aside for now because that's too far apart from the subject of this. Most places sell tax deeds. And when they sell the tax deed, you can go there as a bidder, put up your paddle, win the bid, pay your money, and become the owner of the house. Now, these sales are not like buying a traditional house through a real estate agent because, first of all, you can't get a mortgage for these properties because when you buy the property, then meaning when you give your successful bid, generally speaking, you're either paying for it right then and there, meaning like walking to the front of the room and putting down a cashier's check, or you're going to be paid very shortly after that. Mortgage companies are not able to work in that system, so it's not something where you can get a mortgage. Secondly, you often have title issues that need to be straightened out. Sometimes you have to do something called a quiet title action, which is a legal action where a judge says, yes, you are the owner of the property and no, those other liens don't count. Often you have to do that. That typically takes 4 to 6 months, budget of $3,000 to $5,000. So you might be wondering, well, why would someone do that? Well, because you can buy the properties really cheaply. These properties are sometimes sold for pennies on the dollar, and it's worth it. Even the most expensive properties usually don't go for more than 80 cents on the dollar. So if you had average house in America is about $400,000, you get $80,000 off at a tax sale. That's a pretty sweet deal. So people will do that and save their $80,000 and deal with the quiet title action for $5,000 because it's worth it. And so it is worth it, but just understand their limitations. Now, some things you need to look out for. You don't get an internal inspection of these properties. There's not an open house or any chance for you to walk through the house. So you have to buy it somewhat blindly. So just assume the worst. If you look at a property that looks ratty on the outside, it's going to be ratty on the inside. Check for ones with any indication of water leakage, a bad roof, a fire that's happened. Do the best you can. Often for us, it's driving up and looking at the property from the street, going up to the door, knocking on the door, and as I'm walking up, looking as best I can in the windows, figuring out, is this occupied or is it vacant? Does it have signs of water damage? What's it look like? So I'm looking at as much as I can look at and kind of assuming the worst because I'd rather not buy the property than get a bad deal. So make sure that you're being very skeptical and not talking yourself into a property. Wait for the right deal. It's one of the things smart investors always do. They always wait for the right deal. Don't force a deal. So you buy the property, you're going to go to the auction, you're the high bidder, you get it, and then you take over the property. If there are occupants in there, you need to deal with evicting them. In most states, that's something called an ejectment action. And ejectment action is, it's like an eviction where you don't have a lease. It generally goes to the larger court, like Superior Court or Common Pleas Court, which is what we use in Pennsylvania. So that's probably another, couple of months. And then in many states, you have to hire a bonded mover to clear out the house. So that could easily be a $10,000 bill. So again, you're probably talking about $15,000 for that if you have to actually push someone out of the property. So just note that when you're doing your property inspections, note if it's occupied or not. Because if it's occupied, you need to budget for the possibility of having to do that ejectment action. Now, oftentimes you can go with offers of cash for keys and get people out, but just understand this is part of the game. And again, you want to be conservative. You want to make sure that you assume the worst and hope for the best. And when it works out for the best, you just make more money, but don't assume the best and don't be hopeful. Be skeptical, and that way you'll make money all the time. So anyway, you're going to go, you bid for the property, you get it. You should get a good price on it. And then you become the new owner. And at these auctions, there's some tricks that you need to know that aren't apparent when you first start looking at these. So first of all, to get the list, contact your local tax collector and ask when they do their tax sales. They'll tell you when they do them. And usually they put out the list of properties to be sold at sale about 45 days in advance of the sale. Those are generally downloadable from the internet. Just ask them. Say, when do you put your list out and where do I get it? You get the list. And then when you first get the list, all that you're going to do is start doing some due diligence to get rid of properties you're not interested in. First step of that is get rid of areas that you're not interested in. If it's too far away or in a section of town you're not interested in, just cross it off your list. So you want to reduce the list as much as you can because these lists are typically very large and you can't look at every property. So you need to eliminate properties you don't want. So that's number one. And then start doing electronic due diligence with the ones left over by going on Google Maps and looking up each property on Google Maps and looking at it. Google Maps has a thing where you can take the little picture of the person and put it down on the street, and you can turn and look this way and that way and at the house. Look and say, is this a house that I'm actually interested in or not? And again, cross off all the ones you're not interested in. And then about 4 to 5 days prior to the sale, then you do your physical due diligence. That means you take the properties that are left over from you, eliminating all the ones through areas you're not interested in and didn't like them on Google Street View. And then you need to drive by the properties and put some eyes on them. Because sometimes these houses are burned down. Sometimes they're torn down. Sometimes they are much worse than they were on Google Street View, because Google Street View may be a picture that's 1, 2, 3 years old. Could easily be that. So make sure that you do the drive-bys and then you go to the auction prepared to bid. And make sure that you've gotten the rules of the auction, which are usually called terms of sale, beforehand from the auctioneer. That's going to tell you when you have to pay the money, what form of payment they accept, whether it's a wire transfer or whether you have to bring a cashier's check or deposit money in advance. Make sure you know that, and also make sure you check if you have to register in advance. It's very common that you have to register for these sales in advance of the sale. So you may be registering, a week or two in advance, and if you don't register, you usually can't register the day of sale. So make sure that you check that out beforehand. And then you go and you bid and you get your properties. And I've bought many, many great properties, gotten lots of great deals in tax sales. The one thing I would say, because I bought at tax sales and mortgage foreclosure sales, the tax sales tend to be in rougher neighborhoods and rougher houses. Let's face it, if someone can't afford to pay their taxes, they really can't afford to do any maintenance. And typically 3 or 4 years go by with unpaid taxes before they put it up for tax sale. So it's probably in poor condition just from lack of maintenance, if nothing else. And also the neighborhoods tend to be less desirable. The mortgage foreclosures, the foreclosures happen much faster, and typically the neighborhoods are a little bit better, so you get houses that are not as rough. That being said, the tax sales can really be the bargain basement and can really be great places. There's another opportunity that I take advantage of in tax sales that I like even better than buying properties, and that's something called overages. Overages is when the property is sold and it sells for more than the taxes that are due, then that extra money is available for the former homeowner to claim. So you get lists like this list that I'm looking at here. This is one I downloaded. It's only 3 pages of 38 pages. And I'll have the editor put it up so you can see it a little bit better. If you look, you can see the difference between the opening bid and the winning bid. And like the first one, for example, there's $7,625 is the opening bid and $60,100 was the actual price paid. So for round figures, there's about $62,000 that's left over. That money can be claimed by the former owner. The second one, there's $30,000 opening bid and a $220,000 sale price. So there's about $210,000 that's left over. That's overages money, and the former owner is eligible to claim that, but most of the time they don't claim it. Statistically speaking, 72% of the time they don't claim the money. So you can get those lists, contact the owner and say, hey, there's some money that we can potentially get for you for a percentage. Would you be interested in working with me? and then you provide the service of getting that money. It's a great business. I do this on a day in, day out basis. Today in the Diamond office was a banner day. We got 3 checks in, which is crazy. That is just a total banner day. One of them was a really big one, $129,000 overage. So that's pretty crazy. The second 2 are more run-of-the-mill, $23,000 overage, and this one, $22,480.29. So those are smaller ones. But that, for the day, it was about $180,000 that came in. And we keep a significant percentage of that as our finder's fee. So I made a bunch of money for myself and my family to keep my office going. And we're going to help people getting them back, well over 6 figures that they never would have had without us. So we often get people back into housing, back into life, back into hope. So if you like that, it's a really great business. I also like the fact that I don't have to put out money for these. Like this $129,000 check, of which I'm keeping about $40,000. I didn't have to put up $129,000 to get that. I just did the service. I filled in the paperwork, I submitted the claim, and I got this check that I'm now going to deposit into my bank account. So you don't need to invest money in the overages business, which I really like. And frankly, I also like the fact that I'm never evicting anybody, and I'm not pushing someone out of their house. I'm not, taking advantage of someone's misery. I'm not saying that everybody in tax sales is doing that. They're not. It's someone's going to get the house, so I guess it may as well be you. But for me, I enjoy really helping the people. So I'm getting, that person that has the $129,000 overage, $85,000 in their pocket that they never would have had without me. And that is life-changing. And if someone is, say, out of housing and homeless, living in their car, can you imagine they get $85,000, gets them right back into housing, right back into life again, and they have a whole new fresh start. So if you like that, then overage is definitely something to look at. So let me give you the next 2 steps. One step you could do is you can look at this overages business I'm talking about. That is a video that I had intro to the overages business. You can see a link down below. If your browser supports it, you'll see one up over my shoulder here. You can click on that, and I did about a 20-minute short video on how the overages business works and what the opportunity is. Second thing you could do, if you want to do the tax sales, I have a friend of mine named Tony that is just the superstar of tax sales. He is the ninja warrior. He is the guy. I sat down with him. We did a 20-minute interview where he talks about what he does. And I think what he does as tax sales is so cool. He goes and buys properties outside of the tax sale, direct from counties, and he doesn't have any competition. He doesn't have to scramble to get money together. And I think he's just got a really ninja way of doing it. And totally innovative. I think it's really terrific. So I think you should go watch that if you're interested in doing the tax sales, which is a wonderful way to invest. Just click on the video that you'll see down below that's interview with Tony, and there you'll get to see it. And if you want to go further with either of us, either doing overages or learning tax sales from Tony, once you watch those videos, there's an opportunity for you to get a full education and really go into these businesses. I want to assure you that whatever you decide to do, whether it's the tax deed sales and buying properties or the tax overages where you're just getting lump sums of cash, they're both great businesses. Unfortunately, there are a lot of foreclosures right now, and these businesses are, just booming. I wish they weren't. I wish no one lost their properties at tax sale, but people do and always will and always have. So it's always a solid business, but I'd like you to be able to take advantage of it as a business opportunity for yourself and your family. So this is attorney and Harvard Business School mentor Bob Diamond, wishing you all the best in your journey into entrepreneurial success. Click on one or both of the videos, check it out, and hopefully you found your next business. So this is Bob Diamond, over and out for now.